Mom.
So I'll just let you kind of, give your presentation, and then we can interact a little bit.
Yeah, that's fine.
Talk about authentication and that sort of stuff.
Are we recording already?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
So do you want to talk about that piece on the crowdsourcing, the authentication, or is that...
Let's talk about crowdsourcing a little bit, because that's been a big topic, not only at Jack's Plenary, but also in the Survey Engineering Summit, too. It was a big subject.
So in 2008, when TomTom first acquired TeleAtlas, what they brought to TeleAtlas was this wealth of information that they had started to gather through the actual devices. And it was both active community input, where consumers actively interface with their device and said, here's a new subdivision, here's a change in the real world that I want you to know about. And it was also passively collected data that customers would opt into and say, it's okay if you collect these anonymous GPS measurements.
And that was a MapShare program.
Right, and that's MapShare, right? So when that was first introduced to TeleAtlas, it was this brand new stream that was pretty different from everything we collected before. So historically, we were very engineering, cartographic focused, right? So it was high resolution imagery. It was our own mobile mapping vans with these the side sweeping lasers, right? It was very high precision. We focused on the high precision, and it was an expensive platform, and as a result, you had few of those out there, right? So I think at the peak, we maybe had 50 of those vans running simultaneously, and even at that volume, you couldn't begin to cover all the residential roads, right? You could hit the major highways, which we did, maybe the next road classes down. But with the advent of the MapShare program, all of a sudden we had data on millions and millions of kilometers and miles of streets on all road classes. And it was a tremendous challenge for us in 2008, especially 2009, to figure out, okay, how do we incorporate that data into what we're doing already? It certainly doesn't replace it, right? So it's an enhancement to that. We got very good at how we correlate data to itself, right? So how do we take, hey, there's a lot of people who've made the same observation about the same road, right? So that's a way to increase confidence. We could compare what, if several people said, this is now a one-way street, it used to be two-way, we could compare that with the GPS measurements and say, yeah, in fact, there used to be traffic going in both directions, and now that's changed. So that was another source of correlation. And we could correlate it to the data that we already had, right? So other kinds of imagery. So that ability to correlate to other sources was important. And then the second piece, and this has just been true over time, was the sheer volume of data that we had. So if you get hundreds and thousands, literally thousands of observations on the same road, over time, not only can you see very clearly where a street center line is, but you also get to see things like lane counts. Right, so the patterns just jump out at you. It becomes pretty clear pretty quickly. It's taken time, though. We had to get good at this. This wasn't something that we were...
Did it surprise you, the amount of data you got in and the effort it took to analyze it?
It both surprised us. The amount of data that we get is growing every day, right? So as more devices are distributed and as people begin to interact with some of our web properties, they're also going to be able to provide information to us on the web, not just with the device. But it has taken a lot of work internally, especially on the processing of those GPS measurements, to figure out how do we account for what the device itself is doing. There's a wide variety of accuracy on different kinds of chipsets. So how do we account for that? How do we account for where these people are, if they're
just sitting on a seat or up in the dashboard?
Where's the device located? And also really obvious things once you see them, like the advantage of something, a portable navigation device, is people pop them out of their car and then they walk with them. So you've got to say, wait a second, the speed of these devices is such that we know that this isn't a car stuck in traffic. Right? They're walking across Boston Common, or they're walking across the waterfront here in San Diego. So getting clever at how you filter out data that's clearly not part of the navigation network. Took some.
And there's really no model to look at, was there, before? It was this new venture, because at that time, I don't think there was anything else like it out there.
No, there was nothing else where we could say, these people have solved this problem like it before. As a result, one of the nice parts of it is we've got a lot of IP around this. We've filed, I think, we're up to 2,000 patents, not just on this, across all the different technologies, but over the past 18 to 24 months, we've written a lot of patent applications around how you process this kind of data.
Okay.
That leads to pretty cool announcement that we're making today. Something called custom travel times, and this is it sounds like our speed profile product, but I want to explain a little bit the difference between these. As we started to gather these GPS measurements, the original purpose of it was to improve the quality of the map. Right, so they would turn it over to the map guys, and we'd say, okay, here's how we're going to find. We're going to improve the accuracy of the center lines. We're going to find new geometry, right? So a new subdivision, and we compare that to the map, and we say, hey, there's some new houses here, or entirely new countries, which sounds fantastic, but. A year or so ago, we did some work looking at the country of Romania, where we did not sell data in Romania, but we had GPS measurements as people crossed through Romania. And we realized, wait a second, we actually have enough data here that we could put together a very basic product. It wasn't a full-blown map. We could publish that, and with a lot of support from TomTom, we put that out there. And the community reacted to it. People started to name streets and started to unblock roads. It's been a fantastic experience internally. What we're now doing is productizing those GPS measurements in ways that we think will enable customers to make fine-tune their algorithms. Right. So when we introduced the speed profiles, the purpose of that was to say, look, if you want to drive into San Diego on a Monday morning or a Sunday morning, you know the timing is going to be different. Right. So if you add speed profile data, which is it's a 2-year chunk of data that averages information on road segments, and it tells you as somebody writing an algorithm for routing, here's what the actual speeds are by day, by time of day on those roads.
Based on 2 years of data.
Right. So customers could use that to fine-tune their routing algorithms. But what we've also found is that this kind of information is incredibly valuable in the aggregate for cities or for metropolitan planning organizations or for people that are involved in doing any kind of emergency planning, evacuation planning, traffic management, congestion management systems. Anybody who has a large responsibility for looking at how traffic moves in and around their city. So with the custom travel times product, it's actually a way for customers to really tailor by specific time frames. So instead of saying, here's 2 years of data that we've averaged for you, to go in and say, we want to get data for Q1 of 2010, and we want to compare it to Q2. We want to know how does the traffic behave differently on a Monday versus a Wednesday. And maybe you don't want the entire city of Minneapolis. Maybe you want just the I-35 corridor and
and the user will be UPS, FedEx, those kinds of folks interested in that, or would be the consumer?
It could be. No, what we expect is that it's going to be a lot of those groups I mentioned before, the MPOs, city governments, people who have the responsibilities of looking at a high level how traffic moves and flows within their community. So it's a product that we're announcing today.
Nothing to do with TomTom per se. It's more of a teleatlas.
Well, teleatlas is fully being branded into TomTom, right? So this is all data that's generated from TomTom. We're doing the processing of it, and then we're
so I guess nothing to do with the P&D.
That's how it originates, though. That's how the data is still it's that passively collected anonymous GPS measurements. And instead of in addition to providing that to navigation companies to fine-tune their routing algorithms, we're now realizing that there's really a whole separate enterprise GIS market that would have an interest in using this data for that large-scale, again, traffic management, traffic planning application.
Cool stuff.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
I like that. I'm going to cut it right there.
Yeah,